I am so excited about about going to Maui again at all this year, but extra special.
Yay.
We have Kalikia this year.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, and if you don't know Kalikia, I'm gonna try to help you know her a little bit here, because what she brings to the world is really amazing. Obviously, so much beauty and joie de vivre, but there's more. She's been studying and practicing for a long time and bringing her magic to the world a lot. So, and you contacted me last year about coming too.
It's true.
Yeah,
I was
so
really excited.
Gestated for a while because we were already deep in last year, but it's time.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to bring my skills and knowledge to share with you guys this year. This year's title is Ecstatic Relating, Year 2. Woo woo. And what I'm hoping to bring to the table is not just techniques that can help to further your ability to open, but also to really help people to break past those subconscious blocks that we may not even be able to recognize that we have. You know, when we talk about how we make choices and when we're making choices around sexuality and love, a lot of that is predetermined by our subconscious and what we learned as children, you know, and those programs last a lifetime unless you start to really take note and do like shadow work around it. Like, what are the things that aren't serving me? And am I ready to let go of those old stories? I think that's the willingness to let go of those stories is half the battle.
Yeah.
and then you get to do the work of actually letting go. And it's nice to have a really safe container for that, especially in such a beautiful location. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be going back to Hawaii. I grew up on the Big Island, so while Maui specific isn't my home, it's definitely in my heart for sure. So I'm really pleased to be joining you there.
Yes, awesome. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It is so much about creating the safe container. So often we make little dives into things. We set our intention during our yoga practice, but so much of that is conscious mind. Like, okay, I'm gonna, and we kind of get stuck on ideas. Meanwhile, the subconscious mind is like, no, I've got you safe, or we won't do that because that hurt you before.
Exactly.
And so when we are able to be in a container, we can get that repetition and that ritual and that protection to go that next level.
Absolutely.
Deeper. And what kind of tools do you think you'll be bringing to introduce to people?
Well, I really always love to work with people around identifying through muscle testing ways that they're holding back from themselves.
Yeah.
That they're don't really like to use the word self-sabotage, but there are these ways that we enact behaviors that consciously we know aren't serving us and serving our highest and best. So when we use muscle testing, we can kind of bypass that and kind of get to the other side of the vault.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So sharing some muscle testing and
Teaching
ways
people how to do that. Yeah, for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, and there's a couple of different ways we'll go over, which you know, because everybody's different and everybody works better with their own tools. So when I like to share a couple of different options so that everybody has something that works for them.
Great. Yeah, that's something I do as well too. So we'll get the way I learned it, the way you learned it.
Excellent.
Yeah, beautiful.
Fun.
And is that part of, like, what system does that come from? Where do you learn that?
So I was a massage therapist for years, and I actually first learned about muscle testing when I was in 9th grade from my science teacher.
Wow.
Because it's science.
It's science. It is.
It's body science. It's kinesiology.
Bodies, yes.
And so when I started doing theta healing, they also use it in theta healing to really kind of dig out those root belief systems. So we'll be doing it in our workshops around theta healing to identify limiting belief systems, but also talking about how you can bring that out of the therapy session, out of your workshop and into your real life. So even when you're interacting with people, you can have ways to check in with yourself around what's going on. Is this something that's really coming from deep within me, or is this something that's coming from without? Is this something that's coming from society's beliefs that I've absorbed, or is this really true to me? You know, which is really important when relating with anyone, not just an intimate partner, you know. And I think that's
or even with yourself. Like, I use it when I'm trying to make a big decision, and it's like my brain has all these reasons why yes, and I'm like, but are we sure? You know, like, hi, subconscious brain, because it doesn't speak as loudly. You know, so checking in on that quieter layer. Like, really?
Absolutely.
Not always.
It's nice to have those checks and balances. Because we can really psych ourselves out. You know, we want to learn how to psych ourselves in.
Yeah, in a good way. Okay, and so a lot of, most of relationship is about communication. So we are going to touch on that a bunch too. And I know you've done lots of practice and study around NLP, or neuro-linguistic processing. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Sure. So for those of you who don't know what neuro-linguistic programming is, it's a way of talking directly to the subconscious, again, to shift the stories that we're telling ourselves. Using certain phraseology, we can train our brains to think in different patterns, and again, to be acting and choosing different roads when we come to those choices. So it's a way of teaching our brain the discernment that we choose rather than what's been put onto us. So I use it a lot when I'm working in the theta brainwave, so that we can make those dramatic shifts.
Complementary modalities.
Love absolutely.
That. And also I've only done a little bit of NLP training, but a lot of what I retained from that was about communicating with others, kind of like connecting to the way that they're speaking. Because sometimes I'm like just full force, lots of fire, and someone else who's not like that might be like missing everything. And so just to kind of attune to where someone else is at. And speaking that way. Does that...
Absolutely. And I think largely that comes from listening skills.
Listening.
You know? We have this tendency to jump ahead in whatever, when we're having a conversation. When we're listening, we're hearing, and we're actually trying to anticipate what the next person is saying, so that we can have our response ready, rather than sitting back,
just being
absorbing, and taking. It's so ingrained. It's so ingrained, and in society, we are trained to do this. This is how most conversations go. We interrupt. We add on. We anticipate, and you know, at times we even project what we think we're going to hear. And it's, the task is, okay, how much can I absorb? And then wait. And then respond. You know, so we're not reacting, we're responding.
That. Leading by example. Okay, so do you want to speak anything else about kind of like your worldview, or what brought you to where you're at, like what you feel like your gift or purpose is? I know it's big, little bunch of questions.
Yeah, totally. No, that's great. It's funny because I've been saying since before I really understood what it meant that I came back this time to help people remember how to have joy. And
that's why we're together.
You know, and it comes out in different ways for different people, but my favorite way is to share energy and stories and knowledge with people, you know, and humor. I like to be funny and sweet and funny and silly. Yeah, and through doing all sorts of healing modalities throughout my life, really, it's just really solidified that it's most important to be working with people who are ready.
Yeah.
You're ready.
Are you ready? We want you if you're ready.
We want you if you're ready.
If
absolutely.
you think you might be ready, you're most likely ready.
That's usually the first indication.
If it's scary, if it makes you sweat or shake a little bit, you're probably ready.
Also, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's that moment before walking across that swinging drawbridge, right? And you know there's something amazing on the other side, but walking across that swinging bridge is... It feels unsteady. It feels exhilarating. It's heightening all of your senses. I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Just thinking about it.
Ooh, this is really going to shake up and redistribute my expectations of myself. And, you know, if you want to level up your life and shift what's happening for you, what you have to do is kind of shake up your expectations of yourself. So you keep expecting the same things, you'll get the same things, and be pretty much right where you are now. And there's so much more out there.
Oh yeah. Wow. So much more. And this is why I delight in you. We have a similar path, you know, that's gone through you know, often the healing path can get really serious because it's scary. We're dealing with all our stuff, and then, like, of course, the world stuff is all our stuff right now.
So much.
And we need to look at our part in all of that, and that can be really heavy and intense and work. And it can be playful and it can be fun. It needs to be relieved with playful and fun.
Absolutely.
And for me, Maui is like the womb of Mother Earth, you know. So I just feel like so nurtured there. And then, of course, what Enor and I bring together, and what Nona, my alter ego, brings, and what Kalikia brings, we all have this playful spirit around this really deep work.
Yeah.
And so, that. So balance, equilibrium, little this, little that, having the wherewithal to hold all of it with lightness and humor, and not being afraid of the dark, because there's just such yummy stuff in the places that we haven't looked. There's such power waiting to be ours that that we know we have reclaimed in our personal lives, and that we want for you and for the world at large right now. And we know when we do this work for ourselves and together, we learn more how to ripple that out and do it with others. So ecstatic relating begins here, ripples out, embracing us all until we can ripple it out even further. That's what the world needs right now. Do you want to speak on what ecstatic relating means to you?
Yeah. In my mind, I see this wellspring. I see this. Hi, Mizu. This is ecstatic relating right here. I see this fountain that's like, I can see it in the body, and it's overflowing like this toroid of energy of like sparkling light, and it's splashing all over everyone who's there consensually. Everyone who's standing in the splash zone. You know, it's this, I don't know, it just finding the joy and finding that sparkle that you have within. And like what you're saying, it really does start with ecstatically relating to yourself, so that you can have that ripple outward. You know, and finding that little seed of bliss, you know, even if it's been buried, or maybe it's right there beneath the surface, and all it was waiting was for some sunshine, and a little water, perhaps a little couple tears of joy or of transition, you know. It makes your soul grow in the most beautiful ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, for me, it's similar because I think not ecstatic relating is when we're holding ourselves in little compartments. Like, this is the way I'm supposed to be. This is the way I'm not supposed to be. This is the good stuff of me. This is the stuff we don't talk about or show anyone. And I think when we compartmentalize like that, which happens for so many of us in life, and it's what we're taught, really. Like, this is how you're at school and at church and with your family, and you do that outside with your friends, and you don't let your mom see that part of you, and that's okay, because some of that's for protection. Our parents don't need to know everything, and in our professional lives, we don't need to show up all the ways we are. So some of it I understand and I agree with in our culture, but more often than not, I think we're all inhibiting our life force.
Right.
Like really kind of stunting it as a regular practice and habit that maybe is not even conscious anymore. Probably most of it hasn't been conscious for a long time.
Yeah.
And digging in there and finding first for yourself where like, oh yeah, this or that happened, I did or this or that, or I show up in these some maybe awkward ways sometimes, but hey, who cares? It's all right. There's beauty in that. Life is not all pretty and perfect. We are not. And so let it be perfect how imperfect we might be. Yeah. And just becoming okay with everything that's happened. Because then you can look back in life and see all those times you thought something was so terrible. And you can look back, usually, and see at some point, definitely through doing these kinds of work, and see like, oh, that terrible thing actually offered me this kind of foundation, this wisdom, this fork in the road, this, whatever it is that's given you power and abundance and strength and support in your life, and realize what a gift that was. And so if we can practice the remembering or the reframing of those things, then we can see when things come on our path, it might be like, no, like, okay, how about
this is
curiosity, wonder, like, okay, what else can this be, what else can it be, and just looking at things more that way. That's a lot of the practice I bring with the yoga and meditation, breath and sound practices that we'll be bringing in the Enor.
It reminds me of like the borderlands. It's like finding the roads that allow you to access all of yourselves. We talk a lot about it in like ethnic studies and race relations, and especially for mixed race people like myself. Like, how do I get to bring this part of my ethnicity, this part of my background, both to the forefront while inhabiting spaces that were created for this square peg. And it's so, and I think that speaks to all sorts of relations, because each person has all of these aspects of themselves, and finding the ways to integrate that, to share, to be seen without feeling like you have to pause, that you have to search for the exits, or, just finding ways to feel the safety of your complete self, and having the discernment to know how you can share that with people in ways that they can understand, speaking to them where they're at, and also not hiding who you are.
Yeah, beautiful. Crucial stuff for our times right now, because there's a huge healing happening. It may look really ugly, messy, and be terribly painful at the moment, but I believe it's part of a bigger healing, and this is that work, is learning how to connect with each other. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, or anything you want to personally invite anyone who's watching? Hi, thanks. To question or hear?
I invite you to think about how you can playfully challenge yourself. Because it's easy to play and not challenge yourself. I mean, like, most of the play you're already doing, and if you're watching this, you're probably been playing. But how can you use play to challenge yourself to move forward and to grow in ways that you haven't yet. That's my invitation.
I love that invitation.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Yeah. Yeah, so on that readiness point, I think that's the point. Do you have a willingness to play, a willingness to be curious, a willingness to just kind of open with wonder to what else could this challenge or suffering or opening mean, whatever it is that's up for you right now, or whatever patterns have been repeating in your life. How can we play with that, take a different perspective on it, physically, literally, sonically? There's so many ways we can play with it with each other. So we'll be doing a bit or a lot of that on retreat, as far as playing with our bodies and the shapes that we can make, and the actual physical ways to look at things differently, like going upside down, and playing with sound and tone and the way that we express ourselves and communicate, using some more kind of theatrical drama healing, drama therapy kind of exercises to play with what else can we be, how else can we show up in the world and offer our fullest self to live fully before we die, because we're all gonna die, man. So let's just live really fully first. Oh, it's almost Halloween.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, we're feeling that.
Shadows coming out, and it's so exciting to think about death, because death is really just a passage into the next space, right? So Halloween is all about the death of the year, calling in those shadow parts of ourselves, returning inward. And when we meet together in Maui, it'll be spring.
Yeah,
It'll be the renewal, almost spring.
So there's that turn of the year, like February 2nd, which is like 10 days before. That is Imbolc, Groundhog's Day, Candlemas. It's a lot of different things, which is that half point between the darkest of winter and the equinox. So it's where we're like, oh yeah, and it's really happening, because, at solstice, it feels like it's the return of the light,
right.
But it's the darkest, coldest time of the year.
Yeah.
But around February 2nd, it's kind of like, oh no, wait, it's actually
happening.
gonna happen.
We're gonna live again.
Yeah.
And it's a really wonderful time, and the energy is so great to be activating that renewal, to be saying, this is what I'm choosing for my new year. This is the new me that I'm choosing. I can see the light. It's coming, and I'm excited for it.
Yes.
And I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens to me in February. That's why we go in February. Well, plus the whales are there with their babies. And it's warm, but there's just enough rain for rainbows everywhere.
I love rainbows.
Yeah, I love rainbows too. So come all your rainbows, join us in Hawaii.
It's going to be amazing. Maybe we'll even do some
we
hula.
had an amazing hula dancer last year who came and taught us some hula.
Awesome.
And an amazing kahuna, Kale, who will also be returning again this year. And he's excited and honored to hang out with us, but honestly, he's one of the most incredible beings I've ever met. And I'm so excited and honored to hang out with him. The way that he, what Hawaiians call talk story, is just astounding. How he connects to the land, the spirits of the land, the ancestors that are in the land, how he knows and lives in a way that knows that everything is a blessing. It's just, this is what we
soak up some of that.
Want for you and to live in all the time.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah, so let's dive deep and practice that, living ecstatically, connected to all of it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you for hanging out with us for a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Come
hanging
and
out
see
with
us.
me. Come and see us. Mwah. Oh, sorry, my vicious earrings. Aloha. Oi, do we think we got